Hi, Michele Rae here from the Center Within, and delighted to be here with you, Theresa Nutt, today, my partner in many areas of our lives. We teach at the University of Minnesota in their health and wellness coaching program, certificate and master's, and offer some continuing education courses coming up. But today we wanted to talk to you about resilience because it's such an important part of coaching. And we know that you, as coaches, have a lot of experience and education under your belt around resilience. But this time of year, this holiday season, this year, 2020, shows a particular urgency to be able to build resiliency skills. Many of our clients are working with grief and loss, not only from COVID patients, but there's an anticipatory grief that's happening, and it's very real. And so we're working with our clients to bolster their capacity for resilience. And part of it is being with the isolation, for instance, being with the human emotions that need to be worked through. So there's that magic balance of supporting and guiding our clients to be able to be with, to be able to work through and not ruminate, not hang on too longer, and not avoid and stuff those emotions as we're moving towards building some resiliency. So, Theresa, I'd love to hear some of your ideas about what you're seeing with your clients.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. And I think that before I do that, the one thing that struck me as you were talking is, boy, as coaches, we hold a lot for others. And so the invitation is both what we can listen to and learn for our clients and what we need to do for ourselves as we hold space on a different plane for people to have their experience in deeper and upsetting, disrupting ways, maybe is what I'm thinking of as I try to translate to language what it feels like. So people are really, frustrated with life going in a direction they hadn't planned or feeling trapped. How many parents, I have siblings who are doing this, and also clients who suddenly are homeschooling children and trying to keep their job going. And so the lines are blurred. Routines, I'm thinking of a married couple that I know who's a friend and a colleague. Married couples who are suddenly spending, 24/7 together and quarantining in place together. And so I think relationships are stretched. Our identification is stretched. And so it's a challenging time to hold with compassion the wholeness of our experience. So I think as coaches, we're seeing it, and as clients ourselves, because we're both the teacher and the taught in every experience, we have to have some great skills too. So I wanted to say, Michelle, that I so appreciate you bringing up this topic. It's funny because we are isolated in new ways, and I think that's something that I have sensed in the last month or two, the exhaustion, I call it COVID exhaustion with my clients. It's sort of like, boy, this has been going on for a while. We're separated from our normal social activities. We can't always get together with family in the same way. We're not traveling. There's been a lot of civil unrest, and so there's been a presidential election. I mean, there's just been a lot up that has really shaken the foundations that many of us have built our life on. And so beyond the emotional stuff and holding, this is such a we're in such a container of change this year that I think that is also part of what we're experiencing. So I appreciate us taking the time to talk about strategies, because I think that is what people really need. And a few that come to mind as I'm thinking about winter coming here where we live in the Midwest. It's harder to get outside, so we have to work harder to make an effort to bundle way up, have some snow appropriate gear. Like for me, I have yak tracks and snowshoes, and I know other people have different ones, but we're going to have these limitations for an undetermined period of time as we continue to move forward with COVID. So having strategies for staying active, not doing what our body tells us to do in the winter, which is completely hibernate. I think we're akin to bears in many ways. We just gather our food and hibernate for a few months, but that will affect our mental health. So I'm thinking about activity as one strategy, and staying connected in new and different ways is another strategy. I know you and I talked about it, so I look forward to your response to that. But really, for instance, my sisters and I have started a group text, and we just will randomly just send a text to somebody in the group, and then everyone will respond. And it's just a way to stay connected and to be engaging with people in new and different ways. So I feel like those are a couple to get started, and I want to hear from you, Michele, before I bounce in any more ideas.
Yeah, I think the invitation to be proactive, Theresa, is what you're saying. For us to take that time to have some practices that are strategies that are deep inside work and be increasing our self-awareness, knowing what we need and want, and then being able to proactively do that, whether it's sleeping an extra nap or whether it's being inspired and being creative and going with that. But I do really appreciate the proactivity and connection. I know there's two different groups that I get on a Zoom call with a couple times a month that are, one is with other healers and leaders and teachers here in the Twin Cities and beyond. And we all would be traveling and doing all kinds of other things. And so we get together and are supportive of each other, talk about the energy and how it's moving, what we're reading, what we're feeling, what we're dreaming about, and new insights and revelations and innovations that are coming to us both personally and in our businesses, which has been an amazing opportunity. And I have two women who have been mentors of mine for 3 decades now that live on opposite coasts. And one of them has some health challenges. So we started getting together on Zoom again. And now there's a group of 6 of us with these two women, the next generation, and to be with them as colleagues and support them and hear their stories. It has been life-changing for all of us, and in particular for my dear mentor who has been suffering with some health issues. So to your point, the resiliency is this inside attitude, inside commitment, almost inside surrender on another level for me, to focus on what is inside my circle of concern and also something I can do about it, versus what I don't have the ability to change and influence. So those things, plus back to I call them transformative practices. There's some of them in my book, The Center Within, Living from the Center Within, but they talk about reading, right, sacred books, or being able to read things that you wouldn't read otherwise. I know I'm going to deep dive into some racism and equity and diversity things for me right now. Being able to take some time for, like you said, being in nature, for meditation, for mindfulness, for breathing practices, both for energizing as well as relaxing. I've been doing some aromatherapy, which I haven't done as often, Epsom salt baths, being able to find different ways to do guided imagery, to listen to music, both again for energizing and balancing as well as for relaxing. So being able to kind of plan my day and be sure there are some self-care inside as well as external connections has been imperative and has required more commitment and proactivity on my part.
Yeah, thanks for saying that, Michele, because I agree. I'm so glad you said that. We really have to override that instinct to sort of just shut down and withdraw and pull back, which can challenge our mental and emotional health if we do that. And so one thing I wanted to say just on the mental health arena based on what you said is if people start to notice themselves not enjoying things that truly mattered to them in the past, or wanting to withdraw from the social connections they do have, that's a really good sign that it might be time to seek help. And that's the thing I wanted to not spend a lot of time on, but also not brush over as we often do in our culture. There's a lot of grief and loss. There's a lot of challenging emotion with what we've been through this year. And so it is really good to take the time to reflect on how you're doing. And if you need help, there is zero wrong with you. The people who are weak are the ones who don't reach out for help, and not that they're weak in the standard way, but we have such a bias against seeking support, whether that's a trusted friend, which I have several. Michele is in that loop of people that I can share the depth of my life with. Yeah, and it's such a blessing. And I also have professionals that I know that if I am in a place where I am not as healthy and well as I need to be, that I can reach out, and I don't take that as any kind of weakness. So the reason I say that is the rates of anxiety and depression, the rates of suicide, they are up. And so I don't want to be part of our larger community that is brushing it under the rug or ignoring it, but to actually make it visible and say, the strong people seek help, the strong people know what their limits are, and we honor all of you no matter where you are, and know that this year has challenged mental health in new ways as things we've always counted on are crumbling. So just want to pause and say that, and then also say, Michele, you brought up something important, like just who you're spending time with, even with your Zoom connects. It sounds like it's so enriching. And so I think one of the gifts of this time, granted, some of us are married or in relationships where we're very close to people 24/7, which comes with challenges, but we can also limit who we're spending our time with in other arenas and really get mindful about those choices. Does this relationship really nurture and support me? Does it boost my spirits, or do I leave feeling like a balloon that's just had a hole popped in it and I'm all deflated and curled over? I mean, we have this opportunity to reflect on things that bring meaning and purpose to our lives in new ways, Michele. And I think relationships was one thing you mentioned that really sat with me during this time. And I think the others are just life choices. I know for myself, I've been reflecting a lot on how I spend my time, how I spend my energy, what truly matters to me, what's the legacy I want to build in my life, etc. So I'm, challenged by these times the same as everyone. I actually, my girlfriend and I have a term called our freedom issues. Sometimes we bump up against these freedom issues of, this is not how I want my life to be right now, and it creates freedom issues. And at the same time, there are gifts in the reflection about what the life is that I am building, and the life we are all building as a larger collective. I think it's just really powerful. So I would love to hear your response to all of that, Michele.
Yeah, I'm going to take your invitation, Theresa, as the heart of this resilience. And what are we building? What are we creating? Who do we want to become? What are those SMART goals for us individually, but for us in our relationships, as well as in our communities, in our country, in the collective? And that positivity is something we can cultivate. All the research on gratitude, all the research on positive psychology, to be able to continue our own practice as coaches, to be able to build our own resilience, and then to be able to hold the container for others, as well as really understand, as you pointed out, Theresa, what is outside of our scope of practice. And for me, I'm not a mental health consultant or provider, right? So I want to be sure in my network I have providers, whether it's chemical dependency, whether it's anxiety or mental health workers, to be able to know where my best use, my scope of practice ends and someone else's begins, to be able to not feel like I'm failing my clients if I can't provide everything they need, because they may definitely move into an arena that they need a team, just like I need a team, just like you were saying. I certainly have my go-to professionals that I pay to stay healthy, and to be able to have my network of people like you and your friend when we get into our COVID weariness and frustration, to be able to have those deep relationships where I can reach out and be honest. So all of the above is true, and I applaud many of us as coaches, our frontline workers, even if we're not physically in the grocery store or in the clinic, which maybe some of us are providing hands-on care right now, but we are frontline workers, and to recognize and celebrate our contributions, to assist ourselves and support our clients, to look forward into this new era, into where we're going and how can we optimize what we're learning as we build systems that are more sustainable and just and inclusive, where everybody is encouraged to realize their full potential.
Yeah, thanks, Michele. It's such a beautiful vision. And one of the things I feel I've heard myself saying to both my clients and my listening audience is this: we're moving, I feel, from a place where it was the well-being of a few to the well-being of all. And that takes a shift and an effort. But what a beautiful vision. I would much prefer to give up some of my entitlement freedoms that I didn't recognize I had for the well-being of all, to know that more people have access to health and well-being on whatever level, in whatever definition makes sense to them. And so I'm really grateful for that part of this opportunity. And this topic of resilience feels really timely. And as I think about it, I'm speaking for myself. I came from a Christian background, so I celebrate the Christmas holiday. But whatever holidays people celebrate, we have this rush and bustle that comes with the month of December, it seems. And I think resilience is such a timely topic because it is all of the little choices we make throughout our day. And even the one thing I wanted to insert, I've spoken probably 5 times on resilience in the month of November because it's such a hot topic, is this idea that we need screen breaks. Here you and I are on Zoom, but our entire days and nights are often conducted on the screen now. So there are so many quick little ways to take screen breaks. So even if every hour, this is my favorite, I'm going to do a quick demonstration. You just grab your nose, point it down toward the floor so you're looking away, and give yourself a 30-second break from the screen. Do it every hour, because our eyes are not meant to stare at the screen all day. Our minds are not meant to be staring into something and receiving information all day. So little mindful ways, back to our Michele and my love of mindfulness, to give our body and our nervous system in particular, it's the nervous system that's most important, the message that it can slow down for a minute, that it is safe, that it is okay. Because if we have constant screen time, that signal starts to trigger a hypervigilant response from our nervous system, and none of us need to be contributing that to ourselves or others. So in all of our efforts to be resilient, I think really paying attention to screen time, having little habits. The other thing I had, the last group, I think I had 250 people on, and a cute little dad came on, and he's like, I'm going to stop at 8 o'clock and make tea, and I'm going to make my little buddy, he had like a 5 or 6 year old son, some hot cocoa, and we're going to just chill out at 8 o'clock. I mean, it's that kind of creativity that I think is required right now, those little micro habits to just keep our nervous system regulated in the midst of such trying conditions. So I wanted to insert that before I forgot.
It's perfect, Theresa. So we hope that you have some takeaways, some strategies. Maybe you have some to add. If you'd be willing, we're so delighted to be part of this community and be able to add some of your comments below. That would be great as well. Share with the group. And we wish you all the resilience possible during this holiday month of December 2020.